All right, so now that we've learned about all these different types of data, now we can start to graph them. I'm really excited about this because I love the graphs that I'm going to show you in this session. In this lecture, we're going to learn how to make some graphs with matrices. So the first thing we're going to do is make a matrix. I've made a vector here with a whole bunch of numbers, and I've arranged them in this way for a purpose that you'll see in a minute. So I've taken all this data and made it into a matrix with 5 rows and 7 columns. And I've said create the matrix by rows instead of the automatic columns. So I'll run both of these. And now they're in my environment. And now I'm going to show you what this matrix looks like if we'll view it. And you can see that it is very important that we create it by row instead of by columns, which is the automatic thing, by putting in by row equals true here. Because if we took that out and just ran that, then you can see it actually messes up the order of the columns. So we want this to look exactly like the way that I typed it up here. So by putting in by row, that's what that does. So let's put that back to where it was. So now it's back to normal. Now there's a couple of very, very simple graphs that we can make just with this data. The first one is a contour map. So these are for when you've got data that you want to make maps or visualize the data in some way. So I've created data that will purposely give me a shape if I'm to graph it in 3 dimensions. So the first thing, I'm just going to make a contour map. And it's super easy. It's just contour and then the name of your data frame. And this is where, for the first time, we're going to see this plots tab open up. So I'm going to run this, and it gives me a contour map. If you've ever seen a topographical map, that's what this is. Each line represents a different height. So at these breaks in the lines, you can see this says 1.5, this says 2, this says 2.5. Those represent different heights. So this is often when you have maps of mountains, you'll see this. A really pretty way of viewing this is to make a 3-dimensional plot by using persp, which just means perspective, and put in your data frame. So if we do this, then we've got a 3-dimensional plot with the x and the y and the z axis. But this is a little hard to see. You can't quite tell what's going on here. So, and that's because our viewing angle is exactly at the top. Whatever your highest value is, that's where the camera is going to look straight on. So you can see we're looking straight at that very top point from the side. So if we use the modifier in the perspective function, expand equals, this will move it up by 0.2. So if we run this, then you see we're looking at it not from straight on the side. Now we're looking at more of an eagle's eye view. So now you can really see what the shape of this is. And if you just look at my data frame, you can kind of see what I was going for when I was making this data frame was a high point in the center and then slowly getting lower as you go around the outside. This is one way of visualizing data. It looks pretty cool. Another way to look at this is with a heat map, and this doesn't look as cool as this because we don't have that many data points, but this is also another way of looking at it, is each color, as the colors get lighter, it's higher up or a greater value. Now, a really nice visualization of this is with our volcano data that I mentioned earlier. This is data that automatically comes with R in their datasets package. Here's what this data looks like. It's, again, just a huge matrix with a whole bunch of different values for elevations. So it's 60 columns by 87 rows. So this is way more data than I wanted to have you type out. So that's why it's good that we already have it in here. So if we make a 3D plot with that, and again, we use expand 0.2 so that we can have a better view of it. This will create this huge graph. Looks really, really cool of a volcano. And the heat map looks cooler in this because we have so many more points. So you can see the lightest parts are the highest, and the darker it is, the lower down it is, or the lower value. So those are just a couple really, really simple plots that you can do in R with matrices. So this is just a really, really cool way of visualizing data in 3 dimensions. In this lecture, we learned some of the most basic ways of graphing. We learned how to make topographical maps and heat maps and perspective maps. In the next video, we're going to talk about the basic R graphics package and learn how to make a scatter plot with that, and then move on to some ggplot2 graphs.